A lot happening in the political arena as tussle looms in the National Assembly over majority party status. We're going to discuss that in details. Also, we're going to talk about Ruto's impressive speech at UN General Assembly that where he highlighted the issue of pandemic relief. There's so many questions to talk about, and that is what we're going to do exactly here on PLG Politics, Leadership and Governance. I'm Rida Karim Chebet and I'm joined by two gentlemen. We have Honorable Alex Wanzala, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
And we have Honorable Harun Suleiman, karibu.
Asante.
Yes, so you can engage with us on our social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube, Maisha Television Kenya, Instagram and Twitter at Maisha TV KE. You can also talk to us via our phone number, which is 0746 999 841. So, tangu kabla ya uchaguzi ndipo tulikuwa na wewe Honorable Alex Wanzala. Right. Just a quick review ya events before elections. Nasai.
Chebet, thank you for having me today. It's always a pleasure. But before I go there, please give me some few seconds to appreciate existence of some fellas who are watching. And I want to appreciate, the Ministry of Water and Natural Resources, Bungoma County Department of Water for what they're doing. And I think that is great. Also, let me appreciate the member of Mumias East constituency, that is PK Solasia, for clinching that particular seat. Well, we have had a very rough election. And I think we in Azimio la Umoja, we tried our level best and we saw what conspired. But what I can be able to say, we have learned a lot. And I do believe that, it is very important to be able to appreciate the voices of the people. And, we went to the courts and, the final verdict of the Supreme Court, gave us an understanding and a direction to follow. So we want to say that we are not going to sleep, Chebet. We have a lot of responsibility. We have a lot of obligation as opposition right now. As a country, we are facing a lot of challenges. You remember these challenges commenced even the regime of Jubilee. Right now, we are facing, the same challenges. And I do believe this is the time for us in Azimio, because if the government is there and is not doing what, and the people anticipating, definitely we have a responsibility to be able to play. We need to shape it. And I do believe that Kenya Kwanza, what they told the people, during their campaign, endeavors, they are going to deliver, Chebet. Yes. And I do believe even the people, I want to tell Kenyans, and I want to thank Kenyans, especially the supporters of Azimio la Umoja, for maintaining the peace during and even after the campaign period. And I think that is we are living in a mature democratic country, and I really want to appreciate even our leaders in Azimio la Umoja. And right now we are just setting the pace, Chebet. We are going to anticipate a lot of activities from our side.
Yes, asante sana. Suleiman, just a word.
Politics was there. I remember the last time I was here was also before the campaigns. Yes. And I was very much engaged in the last elections campaigns. I headed some county campaign teams, and people really did their best. What I would like to say is maybe the turnout was not okay, especially when we look into the previous years when we've been electing leaders. We had about 70% or above. This time round, we did not see many people come out to vote. And that one should be worrying, especially our leaders. Because you see, if your people don't come out to vote, for example, what happened in the last elections, we saw people campaigning and boasting that they have numbers. Yes. But when it comes to actual voting, so many people stayed back at home, hoping that the other people will come and vote and make their president win, which was never the case. Yes.
Yeah. So that was just a review before the elections. Now the country went to the election. We have the new leadership. We have the new president. And let's now talk about the new regime. Let's quickly talk about President Ruto's speech during the UN General Assembly. The president talked about the loan relief debt review, especially the pandemic debt relief from the IMF and also the World Bank. Let me start with you, Honorable Suleiman. We need, do you agree with the President Ruto's plea to the IMF and World Bank?
First, I want to congratulate my president because he delivered a very wonderful speech yesterday night. At the top of the hour, all the media stations, including those which were not showing him, cut their business to actually focus on the president. And the president was very articulate in his mentions. And when we look at the country right now, the state of the economy that we are in, it does not allow us to pay the debts with the rate that we were paying, because we've come through a lot. We've come through the elections, the pandemic, and people are really suffering down there. And him coming to the world platform to discuss those issues will really go a long way in ensuring that we are paying the debts and we are not also suffering as much.
Yes.
Yes.
The same question to you.
Well, thank you, Chebet. You know, the issue to do with the environment is a global issue. And right now you see even every county of ours, we are pushing for a climate change, conversation. And I think it was very imperative for global leaders to be able to come together and to be able to, to give direction to the world on where we are going. And just to remind my friend here that, we anticipated the speech to be good because, our new president has a lot. He has been claiming to, in fact, even articulation here locally, people have been, having a lot of, fishy discussions on how his leadership is. But what he touched, especially to do with the loans, during the time of Jubilee, we have taken a lot of loans from IMF. And we remember very well that that particular loan, the most important thing that the loan should be able to do is to make sure that we have, it comes as a remedy to what we are facing as a country. Yes. The challenges, the constraints that we're facing, especially to do with the economy. But you see, for example, even the time of pandemic, you have had the issue with the, COVID billionaires. Chebet, we anticipated that particular money to be able to utilize in a very efficient way, but that one never came to pass. People put the money in their pockets and left Kenyans to suffer, and I think that was very unfortunate. And we remember very well, even as Miolo Moja, we came very strongly and to be able to outline that particular issue. The government, and I want to stress on this, that if that particular loan is going to be, to be utilized in a very good way, then as a country we're going to move forward. Because remember right away, Dr. Ruto himself said that he has put aside 50 billion to be able to, to cater for hustlers. And you see that particular money should be able to be implemented in programs and projects to be able to, to put the people in a very good, position as far as the living standard is concerned. But, through his speech, and you see, if you take a loan, it is your obligation and your responsibility to be able to pay it back. So the issue, the best question is, how is Kenya going to repay that particular, loan? Because right now we are, in fact, it's like we are going beneath what we can be able, because when you look at the revenue itself, what we are collecting, even in the county assembly, that money cannot be able to repay that particular loan. So the government have to come with the, credible and good, measures to be able to assign to that particular issue. So you see the issue with the environment. I was seeing the news yesterday, and in one of the local stations, people are really suffering. When you look at Mandera, Marsabit, people don't have anything to put in the table, Chebet. So this is a very critical issue that should be put in a, in a global perspective. And I want to appreciate what he did through his speech. If he's going to, because when you are taking care of the environment, for example, here in Western Kenya, here we provide a good percentage of agriculture that can be able to stabilize the food issues in this particular country. So issue to do with the environment is going to affect us. If the country is not going to put credible measures to be able to curb all this, then we have a challenge. And I do believe, and I want to hope, we in Azimio, we are hoping, Chebet, that this money the government has, or this money the government wants to take from those particular World Bank and IMF, is going to, to benefit Kenyans, not going to the pockets of other people. And I remember very well that, through their manifesto, they said that unga inaenda kwenda chini, fertilizer prices is going to go down. That is what we want to see by the end of the day.
I think, Chebet, it's a matter of priority in the way of governing this country. And it has been a problem since 2013 because majorly we've been focusing on infrastructural development. And this has no good returns instantly. So the president has been very much focused on the production, where we believe that agriculture is very essential in our country's well-being, and we have seen him commit himself to make sure that we do away with the subsidy of the consumption, so that we boost our production and be able to take care of ourselves and afford even the consumption, the prices that when they come up or when they go down. So my issue here is maybe the priorities where we used to invest our monies. Yes. It never used to bring returns to us. But now when the focus shifts to housing and agriculture, I think we are going to see instant wealth being relieved from the people within the country.
Well, thank you. Honorable Alex Gonzalez just raised the issue of some of the promises that Kenya Kwanza government promised if they took over. It's been a week and some days since President Ruto took over the government. How can you rate their performance so far in that one and some days?
Well, Chebet, they have started on a very bad note because, immediately the president was sworn in. You remember very well the prices of oil went up. Petroleum.
Was that the mistake of Ruto's government?
Chebet, let me tell you, the moment you are being sworn in the office, you took over the government. And you see the president had, through his capacity to be able to alter or change where the problem was. And you see, Chebet, I cannot be able to blame, the former president, that is His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, because he has already existed the office. So the person now we are, giving our eyes to is now the incompetent president, that is Dr. Ruto. So I think they started on a very bad note. Remember the element and this issue to do with the judiciary. That is just a payback. Chebet, it is very important to put priorities first. The way my brother here is insulating. When Kenyans are suffering right now, we are supposed to put the priority of food and, to be able to, to equalize the standard of living right now. But you see, putting the issue of judiciary as an element of giving a payback to the, to the former government, I think that is very wrong. And I think his obligation as the new, president was to be able to put the elements of agriculture first before these other issues came on board. And you see, let me just finish.
Fertilizer subsidy.
The issue to do with fertilizer subsidy, and I want to invest to base much on that. You remember very well Kenya Kwanza. They say that, giving subsidy is one way of, wasting government resources. They wanted to put in a very long term, point of view, to do the way you subsidy and to be able, to bring the issue of fertilizer prices down. But how is that going to compute? It doesn't add up. Last week, they disbursed 3.5 billion on, fertilizer subsidy. And I think these are people who do not understand what they are doing. Because if you have a stand in your action, Chebet, you need to mean it. Don't talk this way and, your actions are displaying different from what you are saying. That is not, the point of how the government should run. And I want to say that the government, and you see, the president should go ahead and be able to appoint these CS to be able to help him to carry out his jurisdiction. Because, Chebet, the issue of subsidy, people should understand it very well. Subsidy comes in a tough situation whereby a government, cannot be able to provide a long-term solution. So, but by the end of the day, it has to provide solution because that is what people elected him to do. And the only remedy for that particular point is to come with subsidy. And that is what you have been seeing Raila Amolo doing a pushing. You remember very well when we had this issue of fuel prices. They pushed the government and we had a subsidy, at least it reduced. But right now we are having a new government the prices of petroleum has gone high, and they are saying they are not going to provide a subsidy. That one cannot, add up. Let me tell you, before, just
I'm trying to listen to
give
him,
me time,
and I cannot complain.
And Sulaiman, you are going to be given your time.
Okay.
Just please let me explain this. Then you are going to be given your time. Chebe, the issue of subsidy, it is very key, and that disbursement of 3.5 billion, it was what Kenyans were anticipating. This rhetorics of telling people that you are going to provide a long-term solution, it is not going to add up. And you see, and I remember very well, this is a discussion which has been ongoing. Right now, we are supposed to finish with issue of subsidy of fertilizer. Then you see how we are going to reduce the prices of, production. That is food production. That is where we should. That's the direction where it should be. And remember very well, if the Kenya Kwanza are not going to put a lot of efforts in driving this country, as many people anticipating, then we are going to put ourselves in a very bad situation, Chebet. Because as a country, we are having a lot of challenges. And if they're not going to say what they did during the campaign period, then, Suone, that is my final statement.
I'm trying to listen to my friend here, and he has a very fluent and eloquent English, but he's very much contradicting himself. For example, when he says that we are supposed to be subsidizing fertilizer, we are not supposed to be subsidizing fertilizer.
No, you go
I look at him and wonder.
I think
what did you say?
My point.
What did you say?
No, let me explain to you what I say. Because I said Kenya Kwanza was the one who said they are not going to provide subsidy.
Yes.
They wanted to provide long-term situation.
Exactly.
But I have seen 3.5 billion shillings being dispersed purposely to subsidize this fertilizer.
According to you, yes, that one is not long-term? Because, for example, if they subsidized unga in the election period, you hear the government says it subsidized within a period of 1 month, they used 7 billion shillings just to subsidize unga, which even you, a common mwananchi, never got to test the unga. The 7 billion, we have cut it into half. We have made agreements with other countries which have agreed to sell as fertilizer at a lower cost. We can do the subsidy of the next unga using half the amount that we used to subsidize unga itself. Now, according to me, we said we are not going to subsidize the consumption, because unajua Kenya tumezoea vitu vya bwerere, and Alex is a very big fan of it. Let us say this: if government used to pay 40 shillings, for example, for fuel, so that we pay 110, 20 there, and you see the government spends billions in paying 3-4 individuals. Why can't we leave the market to be open so that everything balances, right from unga to petrol to everything, and then we invest in the common people, like the subsidy, so that we can get enough money from the bottom, so that we can have now we can have our people getting enough money to purchase the fuel at 200 shillings. That is our intention. We cannot go on subsidizing each and everything. For how long are we going to do that? We have been told the government is now broke. We do not have enough funding as government. We need to collect enough taxes. Now, when we empower many people at the bottom, that means the economic, the tax scale will actually improve. We will widen the bucket, and we'll get much more income than when we decide to help the rich few, who in turn get their money back to their pocket. So according to me, we are on a very right track, very right trajectory, where we are not going to we are not going to do things for Kenyans for free. Let every Kenyan work very hard so that we can pay taxes and make our own money, so that we do not borrow enough or more than enough from the IMF and the World Bank. So according to me, I see that one as a step in the right direction. Wale ambao kwamba walikuwa nangoja unga irudi chini, they will have to wait a little bit more longer.
Chebet,
because
Kenyans are
we
not
have
patient.
actually
Kenyans are not
subsidized
patient.
the fertilizer. That means the product of that subsidized fertilizer in the near future, 2-3 months, is going to be felt. The price of unga is going to go down because they have used little cash for the import. So according to me, I want to tell my president to keep on keeping on and let Kenyans work for themselves. Yes.
Also, less than 10 days in office, Kenya Kwanza has not yet given us the government band. Let me just quote Mutai Nguni. Dear President Ruto, don't try too hard with diplomacy. Keep it simple. They don't care about teleprompters. I know teleprompters was trending on Wednesday.
Yes.
You have 10 years to learn the ropes, and please, after 8 days in office, please give us a government. Is the president too much in populism and diplomacy rather than work? Let's start with
And I think that is right. The whole statement is just right. Chebet, and Kenya Kwanza, these are people who have been putting the priority of people, allegedly, on front. But what we are seeing on the ground is different from what we have been anticipating. And I want to rectify my brother here. If the deputy president really cared for the crying Kenyans of this particular country, the president, I'm sorry for that particular matter.
Yes.
Then I think these particular traveling abroad, there was not necessary as far as the interest of Kenyan people are concerned. Because when I saw the news yesterday, it was very unfortunate, Chebet. People are really crying. People don't even have something to put in their mouth. Mtu anaishi 3 days, has not eaten anything. And you see the president is just busy traveling abroad. For what particular reason, to be precise? He should be able, and he has taken the government. People believed in him. That is the reason why Kenyans voted. I believe Kenyans voted for him, right? And I anticipated as an individual, I had anticipated him to be able to put the interests of Kenya ahead. You see, right now, even the entire government, it is in a shambolic. We don't have a structure of government that you can be able to say, because right now you have seen even the incumbent CS, they have been banned from traveling across. That's because of political rivalry that has been with the Jubilee government. And these are people who have been given the obligation of implementation. The president cannot be able to implement, government by himself. He has people to be able to help him. But if you're going to hinder these people from achieving or from, taking their duties as CS, then what is your position as the president? And you see, it is very unfortunate. So the president should have, forget about these political mayhems that have been, and be able to have a truce, even with these CS who are there, before he can be able to appoint one of their own. Chebet, the reason I've said this, even the issue of judiciary should have come last. These are issues that are facing the economy of this particular country. We should be talking about, giving Kenyans job opportunities. We should be talking about issues of giving Kenyans, food on the table, to be able to make their living standards from hell to at least the bottom up he has been telling us. So, but what we are seeing on the ground is totally different, Chebet. And if this is going to continue, because right now the county assemblies, the county government are crying, they don't have disbursement of funds. And I do believe, and I want to say that with the induction ceremony of the members of parliament and the senators, we are anticipating, the disbursement of money to come to the ground. That one is anticipating. Because we are not going to wait any longer, Chebet. We are really facing a lot of problems as a country. Yes. And I want to say that, him being involved with these, national, international, forums, and I think for a start, it was not good. Because he should have put the interests of Kenyans ahead. Because hii mambo ingine atatengeleza jina baadaye, lakini saa hii wacha aweke interests of Kenyans first before other things.
I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you very well. That you are saying it is unnecessary for the president to go represent Kenya and the global platform, but there is no problem for an illegitimate minister to go out and represent.
It is not illegitimate.
It is illegitimate because now, for example, that the ministers who are supposed to be now running the government are not the current ministers we are having. And we have a new executive authority, which is supposed to be now appointing the ministers. What you are saying is that the president should be here appointing the ministers. Remember, the president was just sworn in some few days ago. After that, there was a death of the Queen. After that, this is a UN General Assembly. And this is our head of state here we are talking about. He is head of state and government. Who would you rather that should represent Kenya in a serious convention like the UN General Assembly?
You would have said Gachagua.
He is the president of our country. And we never voted Gachagua. We voted William Ruto. Gachagua, if we vetted the two or not, there is only one commander-in-chief in this country. And that commander-in-chief has got responsibility to represent this country as head of state and government. So it is among his responsibilities to represent us at the national platform and at the global platform for that matter. Now, when we look at you telling us that we should have CSS, we already have people who are working in those government offices. As we speak, they have not yet been relinquished their duties. They have only been limited, and which is correct because the appointing authority has not given them enough authority to carry on with the regime of this current regime. So they need to have appointments from the executive authority, who is the president, who is still out of the country. So, my friend, be patient. Be patient enough, and we are going to make this government. In fact, we are the only regime that has done enough in very short time. These 6 judges that you are saying here, it took them years for them to be appointed for the current position they are in. Now, when you're telling me that should become, Alex has got still the Azimio pains in his heart, that's why he thinks that the judiciary does not have priorities, or the president should not bring the judiciary on board. But the president has been very realistic in implementing our constitution by first giving financial autonomy to the police. That is work being done. What else do you expect? When people are dying, that is news. And the government is in place to make sure that news becomes now the news is never there again. Wait for the president to come in. Let him appoint the ministers. Let us have the ministers coming from those sides which we have hunger. Let them coordinate with the national treasury. We see if we can have subsidies and food aid for those people. But when you're telling me that in the last 1 week which the president has been in power, he has not done enough, you're lying to yourself.
Just 1 minute.
Well, Chebet, what I'm trying to say here is that we cannot be having a government whereby we have a division, even from the executive itself. It is like it is like president is having some of a cleavage with the CS. That is what we are anticipating, because right now, like my friend here said, that they're traveling abroad have been shortcasted. And there is no reason, tangible reason to why the president has done so. And you see, these people, they have a duty to be able to do. They have a duty and responsibility to protect, to be able to carry this country to the next level. The issue where we in Azimio we are trying to ask is, what was the reason behind all this? Because I do believe, and it's in the public domain, that the reason was these people have not been appointed by the deputy president, by the president himself, that is His Excellency Ruto. So that is the reason why he's, putting all these behind them. But that is not important. The important thing is that Kenyans people are anticipating a lot from the government right now. So we need to see the government, whoever it is, the CS of, the former president, or the new CS which are anticipating, but we need to see the executive running. Mm-hmm. Yes.
We've talked about a number of issues that the president highlighted during his maiden speech. We've talked about the subsidy of maize, appointment of judges. Another issue that he tackled was the issue of CBC, competency-based curriculum. The president is keen on reviewing the CBC and a threat to kick it out. What is your advice to the regime? Let's start with Alex. 2 minutes. Strictly 2 minutes.
I think competent-based curriculum is a good system of education. And you see, even when we are growing up, we used to have these lessons. We used to have it was called home science and the rest, and the music and the rest. And you see that it was implemented in a very good way. So the most important thing, and I remember the president said that he's going to have a public participation from the ground so that people can be able to have their opinions. But to me, according to me personally, I can say it's a very good system. But what should be put, credible measures to be able to be put so that it can be able to execute it in a very good way. Because right now we have been having people say that it's very expensive and the rest. Because it is coming, all these resources are coming from the parents. Remember very well during our time, we used to have those things in schools. Yeah. But right now as a country, we are facing a lot. So I think the government should at least, they should not be able to, to trash it. I think they can be, the Ministry of Education can be able to come with good programs to be able to, to strengthen this particular system, but not to be able to throw it away. Because our students right now, Chebet, the reasons why we are facing a lot of problems is people have gone to school, they have papers, but they are not job opportunities. But if we can be able to give these students, skills, they can be able to have at least a living by themselves. Remember, if you have at least something you can be able to do each and every day, you can be able to sustain yourself because you have opportunities. But waiting for white-collar jobs is a problem. So Chebet, the president, and I want to beseech him that this is an opportunity for Kenyans, especially young people, and it should not be able to be trashed. Let just government to be able to establish, even a special committee to be able to have this, implemented in a very good way. Yes.
CBC is a mongrel of kind of education. And the reason I'm saying that, if you look at the countries which implement CBC, they're not doing the type of things we see our teachers doing here. And furthermore, this thing has turned out to be very expensive, both to the teachers and the parents. The teachers are complaining that they are not even comprehending whatever they are teaching. And it's very saddening in this situation where now people are in, our children are in class 6. And in the next 2-3 months, they are supposed to transit to high school. We've not even prepared the said high schools which our children are supposed to go to. We've not even equipped the primary schools that's supposed to hold these kids who are transitioning. So according to me, we are seeing our students getting tiresome work. And this music and art and what have you that you're talking about here, we used to learn it at the 844 system. Where did they go to? Why can't they incorporate in the system and we continue? For example, we are going to have a lot of people getting to the class 8, getting to Form 1, then the class 6 also joining high school. How chaotic will it be? We want to think that this thing was not well thought out. Because even if you listen to the people who are deep inside the system, the CBC, they do not have a clear roadmap of whatever should go on. For example, you've heard this year that so many parents are complaining about their chicken at home. What if we are in a land that is not a chicken land like Western? What happens? What do those parents have to go through so that their kids can get through the education system? So according to me, that CBC should get to the people for public participation, and I'm telling you for free. Before the start of next year, we should not have that thing in that country.
But Chebet, just to finalize on that particular matter, the government used a lot of resources, government resources. We are talking about even finances to be able to come with this particular system.
Exactly.
And if you are going to scrap it, then where are we heading as a country? Because if you establish a project and you want to trash it even before it is implemented, I think that is a very wrong move. It was very good that the president said let the people to be able to decide on that particular issue. And you remember even the first time before it was implemented, it was given even more than 75%. from the public participation exercise. So I think Kenyans are going to embrace it anymore. You should not be able to, politicize this particular issue of education. My friend from Kenya, that is what they do.
Public participation.
And, we are hoping that the CBC is going to move forward.
My friend Alex is
for the purpose of our children.
My friend Alex is saying that we invested a lot in this curriculum. But look at the cost that is going to incur when we are now transitioning to real changes, the junior classes, the senior classes, the equipment. We see that it's going to be a very heavy burden than just using our class 7 and class 8 and transitioning to Form 1 with added subjects which were actually scrapped off on the process of this 844. For me, I think if we base on the investment that we've made in CBC, it is better we stop there and look at how deep we have dug that hole, and think if we really want to continue digging that hole, because we did this with the SGR. Look at where we are right now. We have invested a lot. Just a moment. We have invested.
If you are going to cut these miscellaneous expenses, MP for Kiaru, I saw him with the president. If you are going to cut such particular expenses, then I think we can be able to have money enough to be able to establish this particular program. And I think we as a country, if we can be able to have, a thorough kind of, scrutiny into our financial, endeavors, then I think by the end we can be able to save for this particular special program. It is for the benefit of our children. But a lot of this traveling and, expensive for nothing, then if we as a country, we really need to push forward, then I think we can be able to cut those particular
There is no president who cannot travel outside the country. This CBC, it's not going to happen in this country. I'm telling you for free, and we'll be here, Chebet. We'll be here to discuss that.
Let's stop there. Let's take a short commercial break. You're watching PLG Politics, Leadership and Governance. My name is Rita Kerin Chebet, and we are having a heated discussion here with Honorable Alex Wanzala together with Honorable Harun Suleiman. Keep the conversation going via our social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube, Maisha Television Kenya, Instagram and Twitter at Maisha TV KE, or via our phone number, which is 0746 999 841. Stay tuned.
Maisha TV, sasa ni bora zaidi.
Yesuwa, kama sio kimwili, kiroho.
Yaani ninahisi kabisa hata mimi na wewe tutapokuwa pamoja. Mimi nikifanya kitu chochote ndani kwako itakuwaje?
Maisha Swahili.
Swali hilo halitaji majibu.
Mdomo na ushona ndugu yangu. Kama maisha ndio nimeshapata na nimeyapata kupitia bahati yako.
Usidanganyane.
Wewe ndio chanzo cha kumharibia mwanangu maisha.
Ndio Mr. Kanijo bwana.
Vijana wa kiume sasa waliotimia wamebuzwa wanawake.
Na sijui umetokea wapi wewe mzee kuja kutia dosari maisha yako.
Uzee mwisho Chalinzi hapa alikuja Dar es Salaam wote vijana.
Mimi ninachotaka kujua ni nini ya hatima mahusiano yenu.
Yaani swali hilo ni sawa na kuuliza samaki anapatikana baharini au vipi?
Unaifanya mzaa?
Sikutaka tena kuendelea kuwa fala kama unavyonichukulia.
Tazama, furahia katika Maisha TV.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Politics, Leadership and Governance here on Maisha Television. My name is Rida Karin Chebet, na niko na waheshimiwa wawili. We have Honorable Alex Wanzala together with the Honorable Harun Suleiman. Engage with us on our social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube, Maisha Television Kenya, Instagram and Twitter at Maisha TV KE. We're talking about politics and the new regime, that is the Kenya Kwanza government. Let's talk about the 93 million shillings that some section of Kenya Kwanza leaders were claiming that is what they found in the treasury. And during the presidential inauguration, also Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua also claimed that Kenya Kwanza inherited a dilapidated economy. Let's start with Honorable Suleiman. Do you think that Gachagua is ignorant on how the government works when he claimed that only 93.7 million was in coffers? Then on Thursday, we understand that he flagged 3.5 billion fertilizers, and Ukuri Yatana responded also to those claims, saying that the government uses the money wanaipata na wanaitumia.
Okay. For me, I want to say Rigathi Gachagua may have his own way of expressing himself. But the truth is that the country is in a very sorry state. Yes. For example, the 56 billion that was used in the last 50 days of Uhuru administration, where did it go really? If we have only 93 million in the government coffers, yes. What was so necessary but the outgoing president that he had to spend the 56 billion in a span of very few weeks? That one, we will leave it to Uhuru to answer that. But the truth is, KRA has not been doing well in collection of taxes. And also, when a pandemic, for example, hits us right now, what do we have to do? Should we go and borrow? I thought, in my own opinion, that the government should be having its own checks and balances so that it can overcome, for example, the drought situation that we are in right now. And that money can never be 93 million shillings being run in a country that we call ourselves sovereign. And we wanted the kind of play to come on from 2022 onwards. We have to say no, because this is not personal money. This is people's money, people's sweat. People wake up very early in the morning to go and make this money and give it to government so that they can spend it prudently. Now, when we see that the government is spending 56 billion in excess within 2-3 weeks, now what is that telling us about the leadership of the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta? Now, we have come in and we have found ourselves in that situation. Now, good leaders are not supposed to complain about the situation, but to look on how to solve this situation.
Yeah, about the issue of Gachagua saying that the government only had 93 million in the coffers.
Exactly. That's why I started by saying Gachagua has got his own way of expressing himself. But and we have seen even the president scolding him in 1 or 2 personal issues that he has as Gachagua, not as the deputy president. Now, but when we see the likes of the president we elected and the brains that surrounds him, when the president comes back, we are very sure that we are going to run this country, and we have seen his zeal in trying to show us the speed at which he can run this country. For example, the port of Naivasha went back to Mombasa in a span of a second. The judges also were sworn in. So according to me, we are in a sorry state, but we should not wash our dirty linen in public. That is what Gachagua went wrong. What he should have done, he should have looked at this situation with the executive, with his people in government, and say, now we are in this situation, how are we going to get out of it? Let us increase our tax practice, like I said before, and try to generate more money through production and manufacturing, and stall these infrastructural projects, because they are the ones that are consuming a lot of our money, so that we can start on giving people basic wages and also cultivating more money, so that we push this government to the next level. Yes. But when we see leaders coming out to complain in public, I think that's a wrong way to go.
Yes, let me just quote Ukuri Atani, who's the Treasury CS. He said that sometimes we argue out of ignorance. I really don't know whether to sympathize with the situation, because there's really a lot of ignorance about it. Do you think Gachagua is ignorant on how the government operates?
According to me, I don't think Gachagua has been in a lot of governance. he might be in served as a public servant for quite some time, but public service and real governance is a problem to Gachagua, because I don't think he's been in such a position before. And the excitement and the confusion can be seen publicly. So I cannot really defend his confusion in the way he's running government. But what I can say is that there is enough room for improvement.
Sorry, what were you saying today?
It's about some of the Kenya Kwanza leaders, including the deputy president.
Chebet, the issue to do with finance is a very critical issue. And first of all, the allegation that we only have 93 million into our account, that one is, in fact, is a joke of the highest order. And I think the deputy president right now, that is His Excellency Gachagua, should leave aside his psychopathy and be able to realize that he's the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Issue to do with finance, when you read Article 201, it is very clear on the principality of finances. And you see, for the government to be able to execute its mandate. And I think the docket of Treasury should be very clear and to be able to in line with that particular article. Things to do with the public participation, things to do with the, openness, to the public on how that particular money is going to be spent. My friend here is alleging that the president spent 50 billion through the last days before he left the office. This particular information that you are getting from people, we should be able to substantiate, because you cannot just be able to allege something which is very critical. And you see the position of the deputy president, alleging that we have 93 million. And you see, this is a very critical issue. In fact, even it can bring turmoil to the country. People can even start, all these mayhems and chaos, just because we are going even to sell the country. Because how can you tell us that we have 93 million in the account, surely, in the treasury? Chebet, that particular money cannot even run a county government.
But it was the handshake government that.
No, let me just finish. You have been given your space. Chebet, the issue to do with expenditure, of how we implement, services, the government services, as far as issues of finance is concerned, is a very critical and key, even to us, citizens. When the Kenya Kwanza took the government, they were very clear in their manifesto. Right now we should forget about the Jubilee government. It is now the Kenya Kwanza. If you are going to blame, the former president for what he has been doing, and not forgetting you are part of that particular government, then what are you telling us? Because I do know very clearly that the deputy president is the co-assistant of the president in executing of his mandate. But if the government of Jubilee failed, we should be able to, to accept that the two individuals, that is the deputy president and the president, failed.
Alex is trying to play politics with this matter.
It is not politics. This is a very key issue.
Yeah, it's true.
And you see, that is the discussion we have been having. Right now we should not have psychopathy into implementation of government, activities, because Gachagua should have even advisors. Let them advise him on what he is supposed to be saying, because you cannot stand in a public television and tell us that you have 93 million.
Fair enough.
Even the military can be able to ascertain that these people, they are incompetent, that they want to take over the country, Tibet. And that one is a very, very serious issue.
Asante
It was
sana,
very unfortunate for him to make those remarks.
Let's now shift focus to diplomacy, and let's talk about the diplomacy tweet by President William Samoei Ruto. Do you think that the president is on the blink of becoming another Trump, a tweeting president? We remember that on Wednesday he related a tweet that revoked his country's long-standing recognition of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic after a meeting with Morocco Foreign Minister Nasser Bourita at State House in Nairobi. And just to add a few about that, hours after meeting Bourita, who delivered a congratulatory message to him from King 6, Ruto said that Kenya would win down the mission of the SRDR in Nairobi. After his initial tweet, now deleted tweet, caused the diplomatic furor, Ruto sent out a more reserved one, stating that Kenya supports the United Nations framework as the exclusive mechanism to find a lasting solution of the dispute over Western Sahara. Let's start with the Honorable
You know, politics has got its own intrigues, huh? And when you look at that tweet, you should be also be preview to the information and talks that went through the three heads of states. For example, in Morocco, and that is why even my friend is not understanding here, is that we made a deal with Morocco to take fertilizer at a lower price. Now, it might be not prudent for the president to go tweeting about whatever is going on, but use government channels, and that's why in Kibaki time we used to have a government spokesperson. We have a state house spokesperson. And that should be the channel that should be giving out information from both the government and State House. But whatever deals that were going on in government was that Morocco was to give the millions of bags for fertilizer at a cheaper price, and I think the framing of that tweet by the president could have rubbed the people, other people, the wrong way, and it made them react. And so, according to me, there was no problem in shifting the focus, shifting transactions, shifting business. You remember, at some point we used to face the east while we were looking for debts. Initially we used to go for American countries, the Eurobond and what have you. But when Uhuru came, they said we can not only face the West, we can also face the East. So there is no problem with the change of mind, change of business, change of political conversation. But the problem can be in the delivering of the message that the president did instantly. And you know, Twitter is an instant pulse reaction. So according to me, maybe let the president refrain from officially communicating to the people through Twitter and use proper government channels to communicate this.
First of all, Chebet, I think our president should, desist from, this posting of Twitter. And I remember when Azimio, we came very clearly and tell him that. That particular issue of, the correlation between these the countries, into one umbrella. And I think African Union is one of the biggest, kind of system whereby these countries, they come together and be able to, solve their differences and even to find remedy for the future preferences. And I think, we remember the issue of Congo. Was it Congo? When the deputy president came and said they don't even have cows, and you see that was just when he was the deputy president. Yes. You see that was just a mere statement, and even it would have been even a joke. But you saw what conspired. You remember very well. I think it was the CS for Foreign Affairs in that particular country came out very clearly and told now the president of ours to be able to to withdraw those particular statements. And I think we are anticipating a sober leadership coming from our president. Our country has been respected. Remember, we in fact we are the best in East Africa. we are anticipating even outside there globally, we should have that particular image. And you see, we now is the president, is not the deputy president. You know, at that particular time you'll have been treated as the deputy president. And you see, Chebe, let me tell you, people can have differences. Even these leaders at individual level, we can have differences. But we should not be able to take that particular differences of ours into tarnishing the image of a country as a whole. Because right now the president, he represents Kenya now, right now. When he said or he utter anything, it reflects us as Kenyans. So I think all these issues that can be able to cause even international disagreements, it is not good. You remember, we are helping each other in agriculture sector. We are helping each other into military assistance. When we had a problem in Somalia, you remember even Kenyans, we gave our troops into that particular, it was all the was it UNISOM or something?
AMISOM, yes.
You know, that is how we should be able to help each other. And I want just to even also to beseech the president that let him handle matter of presidency the way it's supposed to be handled. Chebet. That is a very key seat. It's a very key docket, and it should not be taken lightly. And I want to say that he has I'm also anticipating the likes of Mohammed and the rest to be able to advise him accordingly, because that is not a dog. It can bring even a permanent war between these particular countries. Yes. So I think as a country we should upgrade and avoid all this necessary.
Well, all right, Weshimiwa, we can now break down to our counties, and MCAs have been sworn in, speakers voted in, and House business now on top gear. I'm particularly interested in the National Assembly speakers, Wetangula County, that is Bungoma County, and Emmanuel Situma was retained as Assembly Speaker, and John Nalianya has been appointed Head of Communications for Lusaka's government. Quite interesting is the county as we move on. We are anticipating senatorial by-election in Bungoma County. How will this play out? Who has a chance here to replace Papa Waroma? Let's start from the Honorable Alex.
Well, thank you, Chibet, for that particular question. And I think this is a discussion whereby we have been deeply engaging ourselves into. Bungoma County, in fact, this is the move of Senator Wetangula to be able to vie for Speaker. I think that was a very good move. So that we can be able to have a space for young leadership in this country. Remember very well, now the Speaker of the Senate has been in this leadership for a while. And you see, it was very dangerous for someone even not having a poster to be able to clean the seat. Chebet, it means people are sleeping. And that is a very wrong move according to the residents of this particular county. So this one is an opportunity whereby young people can be able to showcase their leadership, attributes are the same. And I want to say that this particular seat, and even I'm praying, I've been seeing the list of, contenders. Mm-hmm. We have young people, for example, even Wakwali. And you see, the Senate, you remember very well, Bungoma County, there are some of very important farms that can be able to produce, and give employment opportunities of people, but they are dead currently. Mm-hmm. We are talking even about unemployment rate in Bungoma County is very high. Look at our revenue collection. It is very low as a county. So I believe this particular seat, it needs someone who understands the position of the Senate. We need someone who has a high rate of articulation of issues, Chebet. We don't want a sycophants in the Senate. We need someone who understands even the problems of young people who are facing. For example, even the leadership. My brother here and I understand very well that we don't have even a social hall in this particular county. Where are people going to be, or the process of capacity building, where are we going to take place? So we need someone who understands all these particular issues. And even according to the revenue allocation, Chebet, we know very well that our people here, they are farmers. They cultivate and grow, some even sugarcane, some maize. So we need a lot of money coming from the national government to be able to spearhead all these activities. Yes. So Chebet, I can be able to tell you, it is not a matter of a political party. This one is a content of an individual. Yes. Someone who understands his position, Chebet. And I want to say, because I've heard that, Baba Roma, he has a very good influence here. Mm-hmm. And if he endorses you, then by the end of the day, people are going just to vote for you. Mm-hmm. But I think also it is high time that Baba Roma, and I respect him very well, to be able to endorse someone who has the capability of leadership, so that we don't end up, at least to blame ourselves on why did we vote for this particular person. And you see, right now, we do know that Ford Kenya as a party is, taking charge. They have a majority member of county assembly. They have the members of parliament. They have, the governor. The incumbent governor is coming from Ford Kenya. So we need someone, and I want to pray that this particular person should come from other political parties, so that we have the role of oversight, taken seriously, Chebet. The government can be able to be, to be shaped when we have a strong, oversight process. And if we are going to anticipate someone from Ford Kenya, I think that process is going to be interfered, because we have this correlation of, individuals in a political parties, whereby if a problem comes, we don't have someone to be able to, to rectify that. So if the particular person is going to come from any other party or independent candidate, then I do believe we in Bungoma County are going for.
Let me think nationally that in Senate, the majority party has got only one member more than the minority party. And it's very vital for the ruling government to actually clinch that Bungoma seat, because originally it's it's a seat that is in government by way of Kenya Kwanza. Now, whatever Alex is trying to bring here, that we should have someone from a different party, which is not maybe government, from my perspective, is going to be a little bit hard, because the president is very keen on having numbers in Senate, and also the Senate, the National Assembly Speaker has got a lot of interest, because first of all, it was his seat that we are talking about, and also the party that he leads, Ford Kenya, must try to give a stamp and authority and control of this county. So according to me, I see there is going to be a very bruising battle. We thought it will be soft and easy, but it's building up to be a very strong battle. We have seen so many other people coming in. We have seen the former Kandui MP, Wafula Wamnyenyi, has thrown in the towel, and we have seen many independent people coming through. Some other people will want to try it out in the nomination. We've seen a lot of people coming with Ford Kenya and UDA, meaning we are going to have some nominations. But ultimately, why are we going to vote for this kind of election? It's because we really need someone to represent our views in the national level. And this should be a person who is actually conversant and knows and articulate, and someone who can debate great senators like Senator Khalwale, senators who have gone to school, senator like Kipchumba Murkomen. We need people who can carry extensive debates to support Bungoma County and pull resources towards this county. So according to me, we see there is a lot of support around Ford Kenya. There is a lot of support around UDA through Mwambu Mabonga. And if we are not careful, the Mbolea party will score some few votes, because of the party leader who wants to get to.
What is the Mbolea party?
We know the Mbolea party.
What is the Mbolea party?
The one which came with a lot of DAPs to give around people. So the party leader has shown interest. UDA has shown interest. Ford Kenya has shown interest. And I know so many people are being marshaled around Ford Kenya because of the party's political interest. But I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy for Ford Kenya. It's not going to be easy for DAP Kenya and also UDA. It's going to be a very bruising battle. And the best person who will win is the person who will convince people that is best suited for that position.
Yes, and some of the notable politicians who are eyeing the seat, we have former Bumula Member of Parliament, Mtv,
Yes.
who is on UDA.
Yes.
And also we understand that some of the UDA legislators from Western Kenya have endorsed him.
Exactly.
To the seat. We have Jacob Machacha Majembe,
Yes.
who is a former aide of former Minister Fred Gumo. We have Bishop Herman Kasili, who is the chairman of the LEC Region Economic Bloc Private Sector Organizations. And also we have Utangula's aide of Fulawa Koli
Yes.
and Agri Mutuma Namisi. But Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula has endorsed his longest serving personal assistant of Fulawa Koli to take the mantle. What is your view on that, Honorable Wanzaka?
Well, Chebet, thank you. And I think Wafula Wakoli, we need someone also who have...
Because you say that you want a youth.
Well, well, of course. And that is what we had been advocating for.
Yes.
And Wafula Wakoli is a good person. But you see, Chebet, this particular position, it needs someone who has experience in leadership. And not only leadership, but to be precise, someone who knows how to do those particular three things. We are talking about, legislation and representation of people.
Yes.
And you see, I've been telling you earlier on that we have problems facing us as a county. And if we are going to dwell on party, politics, then I'm having, this particular feeling that we are going to lose as a county. Because if we have been dwelling on that particular, kind of context, then we are not going to get the leader that we do deserve. And you see, Chebet, that is the reason why young people have been denying opportunities. We have we do understand our positions. And believe me, if an opportunity can be able to, to occur, then we can be able to, to give or, correspond to what people are anticipating from us. Yes. But you see, if Baba Waroma wants to salvage the people of, this particular county, and I do believe he has influence. That is the reason why I've told you that Ford Kenya, it has surpasses, all odds. And I do believe the person is going to endorse, is going to have influence as far as voter mobilization is concerned. And don't be perplexed that by the end of the day, this is the person the people are going to vote for. So I do believe that Baba Waroma has in a good position to be able to endorse someone with the capability and values of, salvaging our people here. Yeah. And Chebet, they have been having this good relationship. And you see, that is something we cannot be able to discuss. But, I'm not an affiliate of Ford Kenya. But I do believe that young people also have space to be able to lead. And, there's some fusion that has been able to lead this particular, Wakoli to be able to have that particular seat. And, I cannot be able to disagree that Baba Waroma has a vast experience. So I do believe him endorsing Wakoli, then that is the right position according to him. But by the end of the day, the voices of people of Bungoma are going to prevail. And I do believe the people of Bungoma are going to make, a good decision. So that by the end of the day, they are not going to, to have this guilt on why did they be able to make that particular decision on the ballot. But also, just to add on it, I think it is time that young people of this particular, block, also being able to be given opportunity to be able to serve as leaders. Chabet. Because you remember very well, people have been having this notion that in the Senate, when you are young, that we have senior councils in the Senate. But if we are not going to nurture our people in the Senate, then when? Because we are getting old. Chabet, so I think it's in a good position, just to clarify. I think it's a good position also young people to be able to lead Chabet. That's what I can say.
Maybe I should just come in there and say that this senatorial seat is not an individual affair. It is not a personal seat. This is a seat that is supposed to be for the people of the county. For example, we cannot say that this is Wetangula's seat. Yes. Wetangula was there as our senator. He has now moved away from the rest. He's no longer our senator. So he should leave us to decide on who our next senator should be. Because I'm being told that he says he wants someone who can patronize and even chase away when he comes back from the National Assembly, which I don't see it should be the case here. This is a House of Senate. It's a senior house. It needs someone with maturity, someone with brains, someone who has even been in a house of debate. And there is no doubt that Mwambuma Bonga perfectly fits
Now he's
in that
campaigning, and I think that is a very wrong
in that seat, and we are going to make sure that actually we are not going to take our Senate as a joke. We want to bring people who will actually legislate, oversight, and represent our people at the Senate. And I don't think someone who has never been into the National Assembly can do that work perfectly than someone who has been there, done that.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the county government management. We saw Kakamega County started on a rough note with the Deputy Governor Ayub Savula insisting that he is the co-governor with Fernandez Barasa. In Homa Bay County, we've seen Honorable Gladys Wanga being on the ground supervising and managing projects in Kisii County, Simba Arati, fishing out the ghost workers. Also in Siaya County, Governor James Orengo refusing the money to build a new house for the governor. Let's summarize the issue of the county management haraka too as we wind up.
Well, Chabet, I think just from the overall perspective, it is very unfortunate that just few days after swearing, you are seeing already cleavage between the governor and his deputy. And I think this is a discussion that we should be discussing. You know, if we have, the urge for superiority, between the governor and his deputy, then I think that government is not going to be stable. Yes. Because these are two individuals who should be reading on the same page to be able to execute, their mandate as leaders of that particular county. Yes. And you have seen there's Miolo Moja there. People, a good percentage of people endorse, Baraza. And you see Savula, the last time, that is the time he came in and, have this discussion with the Barasa. That's why they endorsed him as the deputy governor. He has not been campaigning himself as the governor. He has been campaigning for Barasa. So I do believe people voted in for Barasa. Mm-hmm. So I think all these hula balloons and, what is going on should be put into trash. And I think Shavula should style up, this issue of fighting for leadership. If he thinks that he could be able to manage the Kakamega County, he will have gone as a DAP ticket. Why will he, appreciate the zoning process and, support, Barasa? And I think that one is very unfortunate. Applies in all particular county. Because you do believe that governors have been able to be given the obligation. And right now we are facing a lot of challenges. Even, for example, here in Bungoma, the issues of wage bills, the issue of unemployment and the rest. Those are issues leaders should be discussing, but not discussing who is going to lead this particular, margin or who. And if we are going to have we can take it to the national level. If the president and his deputy, and you see what conspired when Raila Amolo Odinga was the prime minister, when they wanted to have a 50-50 government, it cannot be able to work. Let someone be on top of the other so that if you are going to make a decision, this guy is going to comply with. Yes. And that's how leadership is. But if we are going to fight for dynamics, then we are not going to move anywhere as leadership.
Yes, Honorable Suleiman, and I hope that you will cover the other counties.
Yeah, on Kakamega, yeah. I like actually to start that way, that Kenya has come of age. That now, when we first elected our governors, they seemed to not know how government should operate, especially the local government. Yes. But as time goes by, we see now people understanding the constitution. We see people coming out very strongly to make sure that service delivery gets to the people. There is value for money. And I think it's a step to the right direction because, for example, when you looked at, for example, Busia County, the first governor, Ojamong, we don't see much development, we don't see much progress, we don't see much improvement in such a county. When we see the issues like whatever is saying in Kakamega, fights here and there, we should know, what does the constitution say? When you are a deputy, what do you bring on table? What is then in return given to you? All this is part of what the constitution intended. And I'm glad that we are having a government that really intends to execute the constitution to the maximum level that was intended by the authors of the constitution. And I want to say, going forward, we are going to see now smart governors like Aratis of this world taking charge of the counties, and we are going to see now enough progress and development down the stream, so that when money is coming to the county, for example, now we increase it to 35%, we will see real development and real work in the county assemblies and county governments. As we speak, we say, okay, we are now going towards now the right direction in terms of governance and county politics. But ultimately, we want to insist that we should be having a strong devolution governments, and the national government should pour more resources following the responsibilities that has been given to the county government.
Yes, well, Asanteni.